Welcome to the Daily Agenda. Today we saw official confirmation that Charlie Downs, who appears to be some form of deputy of Restore Britain, under the wing or thumb of Rupert Lowe, is actually totally committed to opposing nationalism. He was on the Andrew Gold show. Yes, of course, Andrew Gold, another one. And he said there quite clearly that he did not want to see the resurrection of nationalism, and he regards all of us as being jackbooted extremists. I've never worn a pair of jackboots in my entire life, quite frankly, and I've never worn any of these uniforms or a uniform of any description other than the one provided to me by the British Army, that is. And I've never been into waxwork caricatures like Alex Yerbury either. Now, if he was talking just about Alex Yerbury as a waxwork caricature of AH, then I could understand it. But no, he's not. He's making a sweeping generalisation and attack on all nationalists. So does this not prove beyond question, unequivocally, and I'm delighted that it does, it proves unequivocally, and it cannot be denied any longer, that what I said a month ago about the split in the Homeland Party and the fools there who rushed off to join Restore Britain because of some spat with Kenny Smith. Yes, of course, Kenny's not perfect. We know this. I wouldn't follow him. But that's the way it is. That's why I never joined Homeland. And that Restore Britain was some sort of solution to them, some sort of protest vote. And Steve Laws was one of them. And it's interesting because Steve Laws is back in bed with Mark Collett, who was most definitely a Hitler simp, as a strategic disaster, quite frankly, for Steve Laws to do that. The great opportunity he had, he just threw it down the drain, irrespective of being retweeted by Elon Musk. It's a smell I just cannot stand, quite frankly, and I think you know why I can't stand it. But yes, we now have official confirmation that Restore Britain is totally committed to the eradication of nationalism, because in truth it has adopted the cultural Marxist diversity delusion and mass immigration, and all it wants to do is deportations, not remigration. And this proves everything I've been saying about them from the outset. So I expect a litany of Zoomer nationalists, so-called, to issue me with an apology. Of course, no such apology will be forthcoming, because they don't operate like that. They just don't have enough humility and honesty to do it. But yes, I'm simply rubbing it in, aren't I? I'm proving the point that what I said has come to pass. And who was it who said saying Charlie Downs is not a nationalist is like saying Kenny Smith is not a nationalist? Well, Charlie Downs isn't a nationalist. I said that from the very outset. In his own words, he's was a classical liberal, but having seen the very subtle questioning on the Gold show, you can see very clear that he's still a classical liberal Tory. In truth, he's a Tory, even though he claims to despise the Tory party. No, let's be perfectly clear about this. When they say they despise the Tory party, they don't mean that they despise conservatism or the Tories, full stop. What they mean is they detest what the Tory party has become. In other words, efficiently liberal left. And they're just a notch, just a tiny notch to the right. It's a whisker, in truth. It's just a whisker between them. They think, oh, right, so we want to do some deportations. That makes them right-wing. Well, I would say, basically, it just makes whoever's advocating that committed to a desire to clean up the criminality that's festering in and across the English Channel. I wouldn't exactly say it makes them right-wing, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is absolutely no one on the right at all in ideological terms other than nationalists. And I was speaking to Derek Beacon, the BNP's very first councillor, a few days ago, and Derek said the problem with nationalists today, meaning the young ones, is that none of them are nationalists. It's just they don't even know what they are. I think some of them are nationalists. The vast majority of them don't know what they are. But they're so entwined with the centre right particularly as we saw in the Essex protests, that I don't think they know how to differentiate the difference between nationalism and centre-right Toryism anymore, and nor do I think they actually care. I think they've fallen into the centre-right trap of being so bloody desperate, they'll clutch to any cause célèbre generated by social media and Elon Musk and all the other billionaires that are pumping and promoting these absolute lightweights and non-entities, quite frankly. And banning podcasts by people like me because they get far too close to the grain. That's right, banning podcasts like the ones I put up last week because they got far too close to the mark about who's pulling Elon Musk's strings. I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you? And so there you go. And Charlie Downs is another one of those clowns. And I said he's a clown, and I meant he's a clown, because everyone on the centre-right is a clown. They're all in a swamp of wishful thinking. And I also noted on the Gold Show that he spoke quite liberally about a violent solution to the problems in this country. And I just looked at him and I thought, well, this kid, because that's what he is to me, this kid looks like a cross between a schoolboy and an estate agent. And I thought to myself, could I see him leading direct action units into battle against the regime and its forces? And I just sat and laughed. But I was grateful for the fact that he did wax lyrical, which is always their greatest failing, these centre-right clowns. They always have to go on these podcasts and trip themselves up. Okay? So when Restore Britain said members of the Homeland Party are welcome, what they really meant is that we want to take them away from Homeland and turn them into centre-right vacuous lightweights. Okay? And destroy the Homeland Party. Kenny Smith didn't seem to be very switched on to it at all. Some of his members certainly weren't. Quite sad. But that's what happens when you go out of your way to recruit a litany of Zoomers, most of them which were from Patriotic Alternative, another useless organisation, instead of doing what I advised him to do, of taking the opportunity that I gave Kenny Smith 2 opportunities. I gave Kenny Smith an opportunity to embrace the several thousand former BNP members I'd reactivated through the BNP docu-series and bring them into the Homeland Party. I don't want them, he said. I don't want any of them. They're toxic oligarchs. Not just the bent leadership around Griffin. No, he doesn't want any of them. He just wants the little boy Zoomers that he could talk to like shit, quite frankly, which is what he did. And then another opportunity I gave him was through a few thousand people who had broken away from Tommy Robinson because they realised that they were nationalists and not centre-right clowns, and he pissed that one down the drain as well. I'm sorry to be crude, but you know, it has its role, does it not? It has its role. Yes, Kenny pissed both of those opportunities down the drain, and as such, I'm now reliably informed he's lost his job and his wife's left him, which is very sad for Kenny, but you know, he brought this whirlwind upon himself because he thought he knew everything, and he should have taken advice. He should have taken my advice. And in closing, all those little Zoomers who thought, oh, he's trying to get all parental on us. On the contrary, I wasn't trying to get all parental on them. I was simply giving them advice based on 35 years of experience, because I know more about it than what they do, vastly more about it than what they do. I knew exactly what trap they were walking into and the miasma it would lead to, and that's exactly what happened to the letter. Every single word of what I predicted has come to fruition, because some people were just born not to listen and make stupid mistakes. And all I can say to them is, in truth, I think really if nationalism is going to be rebuilt in this country, it's going to have to be through the BNP old guard that I'm talking to on a frequent basis, because the Zoomers are incapable of, they don't even know what nationalism is, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they have a vague intellectual idea of what nationalism is, but in practice they don't know what it is. And I can tell you this for a fact, What nationalism isn't is collusion with the centre-right and the likes of Charlie Downs. I trust I've made that perfectly clear. And if it's not clear, then I only speak English fluently. How else can I make it clear to you? In sign language? Maybe I should write it in runes. Give you another education.